Good morning, 8th grade. I hope that we're having a great start to our day. Today's video is going to be all about taking those equations that we wrote from our last video and solving them for a specific variable. So I have a couple steps and tips and tricks for you that are going to help you out here. But without further ado, let's get to the video.
All right, 8th grade. Today we're going to be talking about solving a linear equation. And we are also essentially kind of tying back and the main focus of this is whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other. And that helps preserve equality in our equation. But before we even get started, there's a couple things that I need to go over. The first thing, what are like terms? Because you're going to hear me talk about them a lot. So like terms are terms whose variables and their exponents are the same. And there's a couple of examples here. So on the top part, 7x, x, and minus 2x and negative 2x are all like terms because they all have the variable x. And in our second example, 1/3 xy squared, negative 2xy squared, 6xy squared, xy squared divided by 2. All of these are like terms because they all have xy squared. Okay, and I can also tell you that constants or numbers that do not have any variables or anything like that are also like terms because they do not have any variables associated with them. Now, I also have a couple steps that are going to help us try to solve equations as well. So the first step, simplify each side of the equation if possible, meaning I might need to do the distributive property, or I'm going to have to combine these like terms. If fractions exist, multiply by the lowest common denominator or distribute, and we'll find out a little bit more about that later. Add or subtract to get variables on one side and numbers without variables on the other side of the equation. Then I want to multiply or divide to isolate the variable, get it by itself, and by doing that, that will also give me my answer. And then finally, I can check my answer. But let's start with a couple of examples and hopefully we get a feel of it. Solve the linear equation 2x minus 3 equals 4x. 2x minus 3 equals 4x. So I look at the left-hand side. 2x and minus 3 are not like terms, so there's nothing that I can do with it. I look on the right, and I only have 4x, so there's nothing for me to distribute or combine or anything like that. But I need to get all of my x's to be on the same exact side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a wall down the center here to kind of represent that there are two sides. And since right now my 2x is positive, I'm going to do the exact opposite to move it over to the other side or to get rid of it on the left-hand side. So since it's positive 2x, that means I need to subtract by 2x on both sides. The left-hand side gets canceled out, as in the only thing that's left is negative 3. And 4x minus 2x, well, this is the same thing as 4 minus 2, and I just keep my x's there. And 4 minus 2 is 2x. Now, this 2 and x are being combined together through multiplication. So that means in order for me to get my x by itself, or something that way as just x equals, I need to do the opposite of multiplication, which means I need to divide. So I do the opposite of multiplying by 2, which is dividing by 2. And in fact, my final answer is going to be negative 3 over 2 equals x. Let's try another example. I have 3/5 x minus 21 equals 15. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do, I want to add my 21 over to the other side so that way I can try to get my x's by themselves. So I'm going to add by 21 on both sides. Remember, whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side, and that helps preserve equality. So this minus 21 and positive 21 cancel each other out. I'm going to be left with 3/5 x equals 36. And now this is 3/5 times x. So I need to divide by 3/5. But remember, when I divide by a fraction, remember dividing by a fraction means I need to multiply by the reciprocal. Whenever I divide by a fraction, I need to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply by 5/3 on both sides. My 5's cancel out and my 3's cancel out, and I'm left with just x on the left-hand side. And I need to do 36 times 5, which comes out to be 36 times 5 comes out to be 180, and I divide that by 3, and I'm left with 60 as my final answer. Let's try another example, our last example. Solve the linear equation 1/5 x plus 13 plus x equals 1 minus 9x plus 22. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rewrite this problem first of all. So I have 1/5 x plus 13 plus x equals 1 minus 9x plus 22. And this is where my color coordinating people are really going to love this. Okay, I am going to highlight all of my like terms. So I see on the left-hand side here, oops, let me make this a little thicker. I see on the left-hand side here, I have 1/5 x and x. Those are like terms. I also see that I have 1 and positive 22 on the right-hand side. Those are also like terms. So now I need to combine them. So 1/5 x, or plus 1x, is going to be 6/5 x plus 13 equals 1 plus 22 is 23 minus 9x. Okay. And now I need to try to get all of my x's to be on the same side. So I'm going to add by 9x on both sides. But I need that to be a fraction. So I need to change 9 to have 9 over 1 equals a denominator of 5. Well, I know that 9 times 5 gives me 45. So I'm essentially adding by 45/5. 45/5 x. And that will give me 51/5 x plus 13 equals 23. I need to keep my x's all to themselves over here. So I'm going to subtract by 13 on both sides. And I'm left with 51/5 x equals 10. And what I have to do is I now need to multiply by the reciprocal because I need to divide by a fraction. So I'm going to multiply by 5 over 51 on both sides. Whoops, not 15, 51. My fraction on the left-hand side cancels out, and I'm just left with x equals 10 times 5 over 51, or 50 over 51 as my final answer. Okay, so let's go to our lesson summary, all about our properties of equality. So the properties of equality are shown below and are used to transform equations into simpler forms. If a, b, and c are rational numbers, then if a equals b, then if I were to add the same thing on both sides, I would end up having the same, I would still be preserving equality. If I subtracted by the same things, I would be preserving equality. If I multiply by the same thing on both sides of the equation, I would be preserving equality. And if I were to divide the same thing on both sides of the equal sign, I would also be preserving equality. To solve an equation, transform the equation until you get the form of x equal to a constant, x equals 5, for example. So if you have any other questions for me or just want to talk a little bit more about this, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, or you can message me on Schoology. But this is all that I have for today, and I hope that you have a great day.